So this next session is going to be all about OpenAI and artificial intelligence. I think all the meetings that we've had with companies and with colleagues over the last couple of days, and even on stage, I was talking to Emma prior to this here, the one common denominator across all the meetings has been artificial intelligence. So it's great to have Emma Redmond, the site lead and country manager for OpenAI, with us this afternoon. Just a little bit of background about Emma and OpenAI. Prior to joining OpenAI, Emma has held several leadership positions in multinational technology companies, including Stripe, Ancestry, and LinkedIn. In addition to that, Emma is an adjunct professor of law at the University College Dublin, and is also a member of the government's AI Advisory Council. In relation to OpenAI, as many of you might know, it's one of the most talked about and consequential technology companies in the world today, and to many commentators it is one of a small number of companies at the frontier of the next technology paradigm, which is artificial intelligence. It's actually a research and development company. It was founded in 2015 as a non-profit research company, and its mission is to ensure that artificial general intelligence benefits all of humanity. It was founded by some of the world's leading research engineers and scientists, including Sam Altman, the company's CEO. And in November 2022, it released its most high-profile model or product, ChatGPT. And today, ChatGPT has 300 million active weekly users. Users are sending over 1 billion messages a day to the model, and it is recognized by global technology commentators as the fastest growing tech product in history. The company completed a funding round in October 2024 that values the company at an estimated 157 billion. And to the delight of everybody in IDA, the company opened its first office in the European Union here in Ireland. So Emma, I know how busy you are, so we're very grateful for you giving up of your time and being here today. Maybe before we get into OpenAI, the company and the technology domain itself, maybe could you share with us just about your own background? You qualified in law at UCD, and then you've gone on to work with several multinational technology companies. Was that deliberate, by accident, by design?
A little bit of mix of it all. In fact, I actually practiced down in the forecourts as a criminal barrister for a number of years. So to get from crime to artificial intelligence, wow, how did that happen? So it definitely wasn't planned. But I think, you know, it's like anything in life, you know, you take those opportunities when they come along, and I've been really, really lucky. So I think, look, you know, the beauty behind studying law is that, and being able to practice in-house in so many of these amazing multinational companies that I've had the privilege to be able to work for, is that you get to see so much of what's happening in progress on the back end, from the tax side, from the business side, from the product development side, to here at OpenAI on the research side, to applied research, everything across, but you're touching everything. And I think for me, you know, studying law and actually being close to the client, being close to understanding what matters to them or what the gaps are, and I think that's probably maybe no different to what you're doing actually day to day, is really getting into the shoes of your clients and understanding what their gaps are, or maybe helping them understand the gaps they haven't realised yet. And that's part of, you know, practicing as a lawyer as well, and doing that in a way that also enhances innovation, right? Because at the end of the day, you know, and this is why Ireland is a very important landscape here, because there is clarity as regards a very solid legal system, and that's very, very important, and we shouldn't forget that. And sometimes that there can be a little bit of an oversight there, and I think, you know, especially for you speaking to clients, that's something to really think about, and how solid that legal system actually is. But aligned with that legal system, you know, innovation still has to happen, and so yeah, I guess, you know, that's my role and what I get to do every day. So very lucky.
And I was sharing with you, yesterday about the profile of people that we had on stage today. We're very lucky to have very strong female leaders in global technology companies. With Ann Keller from Intel speaking to us today, and also Eileen O'Mara, who you know from Stripe. But there's still an underrepresentation of female participation in the technology sector, and specifically in leadership roles. How have you found that journey? What advice would you give to people in terms of career progression?
I've, as I mentioned earlier, I've taken every opportunity that's come my way, and there's always been a huge openness to that, which has been great. Look, the underrepresentation in that sense, it's a serious issue. It's not just a diversity issue. I genuinely think it's a missed opportunity for innovation and progress. And that's something that's very core and very key. And I'm really glad to see updated stats and how that's getting better and better. It's not where it should be, but it's getting better. But this idea of varied perspectives, varied experiences, varied approaches, how you deal with complex problems, that requires and necessitates diversity from all sides. And you're never going to fully solve a problem until you get that fully diverse perspective. And I think, going back to OpenAI and being a research lab, you go back to the scientist in the lab and the experiments and the trials and the errors you go through. And diversity is part of that, because otherwise it's not a true experiment. It's not a true science experiment. So even if you go back logically to how diversity should be, of course, is innately a part of that.
Yeah.
So it's great to see things changing and going in the right direction.
No, here to that. And maybe if we move on to OpenAI itself. So the company established the first European office in the European Union. As I said, we were obviously delighted with that. In terms of the decision-making process, evaluating Ireland, what was that decision based on, or how did the company come around to that decision?
Yeah. So I think it's a combination of a few different factors, and all of you here will be familiar with those, I suppose, from different companies. But for us, at least, it's a combination of strategic, operational, and cultural factors, frankly. So we know obviously about the EU talent and the expertise here in Ireland and the access to that talent from Ireland, which is absolutely key, and that talent pool, be it from like data science to software development to user operations, whatever it is, that highly skilled professional network that you have here in Ireland just makes it easy, and that's the key point, ease. When you're, I will say again for OpenAI, at a research lab that's been put into the spotlight quite quickly and quite fast, things have to be easy. So you're going back to basics, and that's where the talent piece comes in. I think Ireland, going back to maybe a little bit to that legal system piece again, this notion of alignment with EU regulations and how Ireland approaches that, we treat it seriously. So this idea of like engaging closely with European regulators and policymakers, we know Ireland takes that seriously and does a good job, so that was important. We take the Irish Data Protection Commission, obviously here in Ireland too, there is that, but it goes beyond just privacy and data protection to broader EU regulations. So that's important in terms of Ireland's, I suppose, posture and stance and the approach that we take. You don't underestimate this notion of a business-friendly environment. It's not always the case everywhere. What does business-friendly mean? Well, it means this openness, which we've received. We're a small country, and so, the idea that you can meet influential and innovative people easily through IDA, for example, is huge. And again, that helps with speed when you're trying to move quickly. And it goes back to that making it easy point that I mentioned earlier. And of course, obviously, Ireland being, the only English-speaking European member there, all of that and being the gateway to Europe creates that strong foothold. Again, making it easy. And then, yeah, like Ireland's focus on innovation. I mean, we're a research lab, so we innovate. And so we have to go to a place that embraces that innovation truly and deeply, because otherwise we're just making it harder for ourselves. And so I think for all of those reasons, as I say, strategic, operational and cultural, and the openness.
Yeah.
I think they were all the factors coming together nicely.
We must get you a job in idea, Virgin Business Team. But we had David McWilliams on this morning, and he was talking about super economic cycles and how they transcend multiple decades. We spent the last 40 years building up a very rich and substantial technology ecosystem here, one of critical mass, etc. We've pivoted from mainframe client server to enterprise born the internet, and now we seem to be on the cusp of another significant technology paradigm shift, which is AI. We see other competing jurisdictions really throwing a lot at developing a strategy to make their country best in class worldwide for AI. Notwithstanding the success that we've had, what more do we need to do to build on that positive momentum to make sure that Ireland wins its fair share of AI investment?
Yeah, and for sure, there's competition, and competition is healthy. But how does Ireland get ahead there? I mean, look, for the reasons I highlighted already, digging even deeper to those and not underestimating the importance of those. That can never go away. Ireland's already a home, to thriving AI ecosystem, which is fantastic. But it's about ensuring that you partner with, I suppose, some of the most inspiring companies out there and innovative members of local community as well. And what does that mean? So the latest technologies, AI technologies, and the capacities and the capabilities of our models are getting better and better and better, and very quickly. And we're getting, closer to what potentially AGI actually means. And we've used the word transformative almost off the cuff, but this is truly transformative. This is steam engine printing press stuff we're talking about here, and more. And so what can Ireland do to kind of build on the strengths that it has, and be kind of strategically smart about how to go about that? Look, I would say there's a few things. One, I mean, just to highlight a few. One, really laying the groundwork thoughtfully to prepare for massive infrastructure needs that the world is going to face for this. And
so computing power?
Computing power. It can be, building data centers, the clean and stable energy supplies. What does that look like? How can Ireland tee that up really well? And I suppose, and avoiding avoiding burden to kind of get to that point, right? I would say. The second thing to consider is, again, don't underestimate the importance of legal consistency, right? With AI comes an awful lot, understandably, of regulation that is required. We're definitely proponents of that, of thoughtful regulation. And so, ensuring that legal consistency, but ensuring that, administrative overburden doesn't stifle that innovation, right? And I definitely think there's ways in which that can be, you can get over that hurdle. Because it's a very complex time right now. You're dealing with this new phenomenon, these big moments that have happened in AI. And so how do you apply a regulation stamp to that, but let it also thrive? And that's hard. And but I think Ireland's in a really great place to think about the landscape in a science-based way, and almost thinking about regulation in a science-based evidential way, what will actually work in that sphere. But at the same time, you have to align to global standards, and you have to leave enough flexibility for that innovation. So sounds easier than is actually done in practice. But I think as a country, I think we have the muscle for that, right? And I think we have precedent for that. So I think we can be very thoughtful about what that could look like.
And what does that look like in terms of, current education, current research agendas? Does there need to be a fundamental shift or a fundamental rethink in terms of generating the next portfolio of scientists, of graduates?
Yeah, and absolutely. And I've had meetings before where I often think day to day, what will the CAO, when you look at the CAO process and you look at all the degrees that are available, and I often think, like, what is that going to look like even in 2 years' time? It's going to be so different. And that mindset change is happening, but it's all the different cohort levels that it's happening. BT Young Scientists is starting tomorrow, right? And so there's that cohort. Then there's the 18 to the 23-year-olds. Then it's the 23 plus, and then you're going into that. And so it's about that holistic approach that Ireland should and can take in relation to that holistic approach. But it's about doing it in a very thoughtful way, because I often say you can throw the darts. Maybe just because I happened to watch the darts final last week, it wasn't me, someone else was watching it. But point is, it's around the, you want to hit the bullseye, you want to hit whatever, I'm not using the right jargon for darts, but anyway, you want to hit the bullseye or very close to where you want to get to in terms of where you're getting the points, right? Because otherwise Ireland is just going to be, there's no point in doing that. We have to be very, very specific and very targeted in terms of how we go about that. So yeah. Of course it's education. Of course it's about getting the best skilled workers there. But in as much as you're looking at there's degrees and there's certain, like, what is the experience? Because at the end of the day, it comes down to experience that you have in this. And so how do you get that experience into the hands of the Irish people? And that starts, in terms of day-to-day use of AI. Like, you're all using it in different forms and in different guises now. The question is, how much are you going to be doing it? And who within your organization is going to kickstart that off? All it takes is one person to kick it off, and suddenly when you see life can be that little bit easier, or probably a good bit easier in some respects, suddenly it all starts, So yeah, look, it's the education piece and being targeted.
And just on the flip side of that, so we're always looking to grow jobs. We're always looking to reskill jobs. We're looking to transform jobs. We look when you map that against the pace of AI development. Sam Altman has said that we'll probably reach AGI and superintelligence a lot quicker than people think. What is the disruptive impact of that? Will we see lots of jobs being displaced? Will we see them jobs being replaced? And we have our transformation team here as well. Should we be out talking to all our pharma companies, our banks, our engineering companies, our technology companies, and asking them for their AI retraining plan? Or what's your view on that?
I think you should. I think you should be asking what's your strategic plan here? Like, how are you actually integrating this, right? And for you here, being ready to kind of come up with, help them in that sphere, right? And I think, look, we're under no illusion here that there will be job displacement. Humanity has seen this before in the past, and even in terms of the internet itself, and look what has come of it, right? It's been absolutely unbelievable in terms of the jobs that have come out of that. And so it's groundbreaking. I mentioned it's akin to engine and electricity. It will boost innovation. It will drive job creation of potentially a different kind in different diverse ways. And I think for us at least, we're very, very eager, and we have been actually working with governments and stakeholders to talk about that and what that actually means, and importantly, what that looks like in terms of AI transformed roles. And I think that's the point, right? It's that AI transformation piece of the roles themselves that we should think about. It's been an incredible year for us in terms of 2024, and we have another very exciting 2025 ahead of us. But, to your point, Dennis, like this notion that we may first start seeing AI agents join the workforce, right? And so what does that look like? And so this is where I think for you, when you're speaking with clients, actually maybe posing those stark questions, which is, what is your strategic plan? And think about this notion of a different workforce and what that actually looks like. Because the sooner they can do that, the better, I would say.
Yeah, so plenty of food for thought for us, and I think that'll be reflected and mentioned to you earlier that we're going to be launching our new strategy, and I think AI and AI adoption, AI transformation is going to be central to all the discussions that we're having with our clients. You've worked with a lot of American technology firms, and you talked a lot about regulation there. And I'm generalizing now, but America seems to innovate first and regulate second, and it seems to be the flip in Europe. And we had some presenters today mention the Draghi report, and maybe we need to change a direction and mindset. And I think there's 33 technology companies in the world that can be valued at over 100 billion. There's only 3 in Europe, and the other 30 are in the States. Given your experience, etc., what's that trade-off between innovation and regulation, and what should come first? I know that that's your background in terms of data protection and that particular area.
In all the companies I've been involved in, so actually prior to LinkedIn, I was in the ad tech sphere, right? And so go from like ad tech to social media to DNA to financial services to AI now. And I'm sorry to say, Dennis, like I don't have the perfect answer necessarily, but what I've learned in each of those spheres is the good solid regulation is the one that truly understands how something works. And this sounds very, very basic, but and this is probably the challenge from an AI perspective, right? It's complex. It's not straightforward necessarily in terms of understanding, and it's difficult for regulators, and I'm not just talking from the privacy and data protection sphere, I just mean regulators generally, where you have something like this that is a phenomenon that happened so quickly and so fast that you then have to apply guardrails to it. We are very much for and pro thoughtful regulation here. It is very important. But in order to address that point, Dennis, with the Draghi report, like it has to be thoughtful, and thoughtful regulation is one that is based on an education and an understanding in terms of how technology works. So, even if I take the example of the ad tech sphere and how cookies work, it's taken a long time for the regulatory landscape to understand why that works the way it does, right? And gradually, the codes of practice or the ancillary regulation kind of comes around to that point. For us, at least, look, we're very much involved in terms of the White House, the voluntary commitments, the White House, the Soul Pact, our excellent teams are involved in terms of the EU AI office and the code of practice there. So I think that's a way in which you can do that. I think us certainly, I'll speak for ourselves, getting involved in that sphere is what helps with that balance.
Yeah, and the Irish office is taking a lead on a lot of that at a European level.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I have my colleague Julie here as well, who heads up partners in Europe here as well. So it's a true team effort to try and kind of get that balance right. But it's time well spent for sure.
I see the red lights flashing here now. So just in terms of colleagues in the room here, you know what we do in the companies that we work with across the various different sectors. Are there any particular, and we're just looking at your product release schedule for last year in terms of search, some of the APIs that you released, etc. Is there any technology that we should look out for, that we could use in our day-to-day work? Or we were talking to one of our client companies yesterday, and he told us that he's looking to recruit prompt engineers or people that can know how to talk to an LLM and like physically talk to and communicate with an LLM. Is there any training program that you would advise us to look at in terms to enhance our AI skills as we start the new year?
Well, look, I'll be personally insulted if none of you all have, I assume you all have a ChatGPT account, so I assume that's the case. No, joking aside, look, there's a huge amount that actually I think everyone here in this room should be doing every day in terms of working with AI and using AI day to day. We actually unveiled several new features in the run-up to Christmas. It was kind of like a surprise for lots of people, a Christmas surprise. And I actually genuinely would encourage everyone to go to openai.com, because it does have all the details pertaining to that, what we kind of shipped and highlighted. There's some really, really cool stuff that I would encourage people to take a look at. One of them is Canvas. So this is a collaborative tool. So you're taking ChatGPT, but taking it to another level where you can have real-time collaboration with ChatGPT within, each paragraph, each sentence. You can almost like a redlining function, which is great. So really, that's a great one to play around with. There's built-in Python execution environment as well, so it's all very exciting for the developers. So that's accessible to all our users. There's the search features now. So that's something that was missing on ChatGPT in terms of real-time updates, etc. So now that's there. So we have the real-time web search capabilities, which is phenomenal, together with the current information with sources. Right, so source, we heard what people were saying. The source references are there. That's available. I love Model O1. O1 is phenomenal. It took what we had in terms of GPT-4 and just made it so much better. LLMs traditionally weren't actually very good at kind of maths and kind of reasoning, things like that. We've changed that though. And so O1 is a beauty, because it actually goes through, not just gives you the answer to something, but actually gives you the reasoning, how it came to that point, right? So even my own daughter is using it from a maths perspective, and I'll say, don't ask for the answer, but you can ask for the reasoning, how it got to the answer. And she gets to the answer herself. But it's just by playing around with this that you really understand the value of it. I will say there's other initiatives that I'm personally very proud that OpenAI is part of. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Be My Eyes. So it's a Danish non-profit app that we partnered with to help those who are blind or visually impaired. And so the idea that you can take a picture of the contents of your fridge, upload it, and be told that milk is on the first level, butter's on the second, here's some recipes you can make, or the milk is expiring tomorrow. I mean, go to the gym, elliptical machine is on your right, running machine is on the left. This is truly transformative. This is taking the word transformative to another level for people. And that for us is making artificial intelligence available, for the benefit of all of humanity, which is what we stand by. We've always stood by that as a research lab. In terms of courses, there's plenty out there. You'll see lots of stuff on LinkedIn, of course. But look, shameless plug, I'm going to mention my colleague Colin Jarvis, who has an excellent course. He's head of our solutions architecture, where he has a short course on reasoning with O1. Again, you can look it up online and see it on openai.com, and that is fantastic. So that's a nice treat as well for everyone.
We've come to the end of our time, and I want to thank a few people. First of all, I want to thank Emma and OpenAI for being so generous with their time, for being here today. You've also been extremely helpful to the IDA team worldwide in terms of positioning Ireland for OpenAI, and I know you're on the government's AI Advisory Council, and you're giving up your time, but also your insights about what's happening globally and what Ireland needs to do better to enhance our position as a global location for AI. So thank you very much for that, Emma. I'd also like to thank a number of other people. Emma mentioned that our colleague her colleague Julie Levette from OpenAI is here today. Julie is the Member States and Partnership Leads for Europe at OpenAI and flew in from Paris to be with us here today. And Julie's been very good to us as well in terms of making connections within OpenAI. Julie, thank you very much for being here. And I'd also like to give a shout out to the IDA Emerging Business team who do all the real work, and especially to Rebecca, Mary Marr and Gary Dempsey who manage the relationship with OpenAI. Thank you very much, Emma.
Thanks so much, Thank you.